I'm Tom Ward. I'm the director and writer of the film The Last Screenplay. The Last Screenplay is a film about a very successful film producer who used to be an influencer, who has built an amazing studio out in the countryside. Problem is, she launches it when COVID kicks in, so she can't finish her first film. She starts the second film and the writer's strike kicks in, so she can't finish that. So she goes in, rather than try and shoot the first and second and actually finish them, she decides she's going to make a third film called The Last Screenplay. The problem she's now got is that her editor that she works with has got dementia. She doesn't really know he's got dementia, but the film is all about his progression with dementia as she struggles to progress with her film.
So are we still filming then?
Yeah. It never stops.
The film is very, very intentionally tense. It's the whole point of it. I think somebody asked me, what would you classify as the actual genre? And I said psychological drama, which isn't really a category that is easy to find on IMDb. But the tension that is kind of playing throughout the film is just the catalyst that kind of moves you through it. And obviously, as you'd expect with any good film, it has a couple of very big twists in it. At the same time as the writer's strikes in 2024, my dad suddenly got dementia. He just retired from work. And you've got this very sharp, intelligent, professional person who suddenly doesn't know where they are. It was such a massive change in such a short space of time. For anyone who's experienced someone with dementia, you realize you've lost something and that you're never really going to get back. At the same time, of course, the film industry was going through its own kind of disruption. The writer's strike brought everything to a halt. There was a lot of uncertainty, actually, because we'd obviously had that boom after lockdown. And then AI started to become a serious part of the conversation, and it felt like everything stalled almost overnight. I think that started to mirror what I was experiencing personally as well with my dad. So that kind of overlap between something very personal and something, that was much wider for the film industry was really where The Last Screenplay began and why I started writing it. Why did I make a film with such a small budget, with cast that are relatively unknown, and a very, very, very small crew? A number of reasons. One of them, because most of the work that we do involves hundreds of people. It's very slow, it's very complicated, and it's very expensive. I really wanted this film to feel like not only an indie, but almost like it was made by a content creator. I really wanted to make this film on a low budget with a small crew in a small period of time to really try and focus the energy and the story. You come to set with a really strong idea of what you're shooting, when you're shooting it, how long it's going to take, where the light's going to be, and everything about the performance. But certain things just might not work. And what's lovely when you've got that small team is you can adapt really, really quickly. I also took that approach into post. So one of the things that we did differently with this film was we were editing as we were shooting. And we had a first cut of the film within, I think it was 3 or 4 days of finishing principal photography. And we took principal photography differently in this film in that we wanted to shoot for 5 days, have an entire film, 68 scenes, cut it all together, pick holes in it, recut it. And then we came back, shot new scenes based on the reviews that we'd done. That's not how big budget films work, but it is how you can make independent films work. And how they have to work as well, actually, if you're working on a small budget. Shooting in an existing location can sometimes be very difficult. So I would always naturally choose to shoot on a soundstage like this and set build. But this film is written around our old studio. And that therefore meant it was very, very easy to make the scenes all work within the space because we knew the spaces, we knew what you could or couldn't achieve in them.
What could we check?
Check what?
If my studio's in here, I'm 100% on this. I'm in here.
This film is very, very different to the films that people would know Sandstorm for making or for working on. A lot of the work that we'd normally do is sort of visual effects-based stuff, very slow, methodical work. This film I wanted to shoot in a very, very different way because I wanted to shoot it quickly and I wanted to shoot it very organically. And interestingly, and I made this decision actually probably only 2 days before we started filming, I was going to shoot the film on our Alexa cameras. So anyone who's in the industry, the Arri Alexa is kind of, it's the industry standard for cinema quality. It looks incredible. But I made the decision very late on. I was actually going to shoot on a Sony FX30, which essentially is a prosumer level camera. But the reason I wanted to do it is because it's tiny and it shoots high enough quality that it felt cinema from a kind of energy point of view, I could focus my energy on the directing and not on lugging a huge camera around. In regard to post, I don't think it was impossible to work with by any means, but I think when you're very used to having a long time to light, using very high-end cameras, you know when you get into post what you're going to be dealing with, both in regard to the storytelling of the picture, but also what you can do with that picture. Overall, although the post wasn't quite as simple, it was fun, and you kind of felt like you were getting the most out of everybody on set. I feel very, very strongly that any film you watch in a traditional setting, not on your phone, 70% of that film is made up by the sound. I think you can tell so many stories in music. I was very conscious I was looking for a musician who not only could write beautiful music, could understand the idea, and I mean that on an emotional level, not just on a technical level, but also could perform it. And the guy I picked, Charlie Flint, has just been incredible to work with. That kind of real piano sound played by someone who really emotionally understood the idea of the film and understood my concept and understood why I was doing it was key. And it's been very, very cool working with Charlie. The highlight of the film for me was filming with Richard and Debbie. Andrew, who played Richard, and Jane, who played Debbie, had never, ever met before. And we were filming Richard's scenes for one day. That was it. You've just gone through this moment in the film where you start to see Richard and his dementia sort of set in, and you're kind of confused about how he's feeling. And then he makes this sort of blundering mistake, and Debbie goes to challenge him on it, and he's just got no idea what's going on.
Hey, Richard.
Oh, hello, darling. How are you?
I'm okay. Richard.
Have we wrapped for today? What time do I get the rushes?
Happy in his own little world, and the entire audience instantly kind of fall in love with him. And every time we do a test screening, everyone would just chuckle at this exact same moment. And I remember being on set and feeling exactly the same. That Andrew just totally understood what I was trying to do with the Richard character. And to be able to shoot 9 scenes in a day with that level of emotion and complexity is special. I think we wrapped a bit early as well, which is always a bonus.
Bloody hell. That's a massive chunk of overtime. Who's paying for that?
No, it's not overtime. It's a night shoot.
Where is best to watch the film? I'm going to hold my hands up, and I think you're all going to hate me for this, but I did write this film intentionally for streaming. However, when we finished the first edit and we did our test screening, the reaction from the audience was very much that this should be a cinema film. And I do think, certainly from a sonic point of view, you know, the sound is so beautiful and so powerful. I don't think you're going to get that experience at home. I wanted this film to be short. I wanted to hit essentially 90 minutes. And I think 90 minutes is a great amount of time to be able to sit and focus on something. The film is really, for me, trying to allow you to feel this split between empathy and anger, because Debbie's character is someone you're intentionally not supposed to like. Very tricky when you're writing a film about someone that is essentially an anti-hero, because you've got to try and tread that fine line where you want the audience to enjoy the film, root for the character, but at the same time kind of end up ultimately confused about their motivations, really.